Hello and welcome to the introduction to the circulatory system. There are two types of circulatory systems. The first is called an open circulatory system, where the blood gets pumped with a heart through arteries, and then it is open into the body of the organism, resulting in this pool of hemolymph. Hemo means blood and lymph means fluid, so it's blood fluid. This blood is returned passively through the veins back to the heart, and the cycle begins again. These are commonly found in insects or organisms with very small bodies. What's more common in larger animals are closed circulatory systems. These are found in mammals as well as other large organisms, reptiles. You have a pump, which is your heart, that pumps blood through arteries into arterioles and capillaries. These feed your body, and then the blood is returned through venules and veins to your heart. Notice that there is no area in which the blood pools in the body. It is totally contained in vessels of your circulatory system. So in an open circulation, blood pools as hemolymph around the cells, and in closed circulation, blood stays in vessels called capillaries. What is the function of the circulatory system? The first function of the circulatory system is to carry nutrients, things like oxygen and sugar or glucose, into cells, and it removes waste, things like carbon dioxide and urea, away from cells so that cells can continue to live and remain healthy. It also carries hormones or chemical messengers from one part of the body to another. For instance, your pituitary gland, which is located in your upper body, carries signals to other areas of your body through hormones. What blood also does is distributes heat throughout the body, so it moves heat from the core of your body to your outer extremities. It works along with the kidneys to maintain acceptable body fluid levels. It also works with the kidneys to remove waste. The blood also, because it contains white blood cells, defends the body against invading organisms. There are two general types of blood vessels. The first are the red ones here. The red ones generally move oxygenated blood, so red blood has oxygen in it. These are the large branches are called arteries. The second one is the blue one, and those are veins, and they primarily remove or move around deoxygenated blood. So arteries are thick, they contain muscle, and they move oxygenated blood. Capillaries are the thinnest parts of this network of blood vessels. Veins, the width of veins are somewhere in between. What are the types of blood vessels? The first type, the one that transports oxygen from the heart to the rest of your body, are called an artery. Arteries are strong. They have a thick layer of smooth muscle tissue, which is seen right here. They are surrounded by an elastic layer as well as connective tissue on top to give them structure. They are very elastic, so they contain elastin and collagen. The difference between arteries and veins is arteries have this one-way valve, or veins have this one-way valve that lets blood move up but not back down. You'll also notice that the muscle difference between veins and arteries are significant. Veins have roughly 1/2 to 1/3 of the amount of smooth muscle that arteries do. They're also missing this elastic layer, but again are protected by connective tissue. Capillaries are the smallest types of blood vessel. They are 1 cell thick, and they're primarily made of this cell called endothelium. So, how do blood vessels work? Arteries move blood away from the heart into smaller vessels called arterioles. These arterioles then connect with a network of even smaller vessels called capillaries, which do the work of the blood, the circulatory system. This is where all of your gas exchange and waste exchange occurs. This is where the cells get fed. Then the blood that has all of the wastes in it move through move through venules, which are a smaller version of veins, into veins, and then back to the heart. What can we talk about with regards to arteries and arterioles? Well, the function of an artery is to carry oxygenated blood away from the heart. Their structure, they have thick muscular walls, and they're composed of 3 distinct layers. They contain connective tissue on the top, smooth muscle tissue, and connective tissue on the bottom. So you can think of it as a muscle sandwich. Muscles are sandwiched between 2 rigid layers of connective tissue. Blood from the artery passes into smaller arterioles that lead to capillaries. So here's an example of an artery. It branches into an arteriole. Remember, arteries contain smooth muscles which contract and relax in response to stimulation from your nervous system. This contraction of smooth muscle cells regulates the amount of blood flowing to the tissues in your body. So if you're working hard, there's more muscle contraction, and if you're not working as hard, there's less smooth muscle contraction. Here on your slide is a picture of the capillaries in a foot. You'll notice that there are lots of them, that these little networks make up a lot of your body. So capillaries are the things that join arterioles and venules. They are dense beds that are found in all locations in your body. These are how your tissues and your organs get food. It's the smallest blood vessel. It's so small that only one red blood vessel or one red blood cell can pass through it at a time. Here's an interesting fact, an FYI. When you damage a capillary bed, so when you damage a bed of these guys, you cause a bruise. And the bruise is caused because blood rushes into spaces where it shouldn't, and spaces where it shouldn't is called an interstitial space. These are capillary beds, this network of capillaries and venules that are combining, or that feed your cells and then take waste away from your cells, are called a capillary bed. Again, a capillary wall is 1 layer thick. It is the site of oxygen and nutrient exchange in the cell. It also removes waste. Why do cells need oxygen? They need it for cellular respiration. They need it to make ATP. They need nutrients to produce energy, so glucose for cellular respiration. Oxygen and nutrients go into your tissue through diffusion. As well, waste and carbon dioxide are released from cells into the blood. And again, that's a concentration gradient for the most part. So things like carbon dioxide and urea from protein metabolism are things that are removed from your cells. So anything that could cause cellular damage that they don't want, that ultimately you have to get rid of, get removed. So here's another picture. This is a picture of a microscope slide where you have the red blood cells are stained. You can see that these capillaries have one red blood cell at a time as it goes through. You can see oxygen is leaving the red blood cell and carbon dioxide is coming in. As well, nitrogenous wastes are coming into the blood and nutrients are leaving. As capillaries start to come together and become larger, they form vessels called venules. Venules are simply small veins. Venules merge into or connect to veins in the same way arterioles and arteries connect. Remember, a key function of a vein is it has this valve. It also is composed, as are arteries and arterioles, of this cell called endothelial cells. It also contains connective tissue, smooth muscle, and connective tissue. Remember that the smooth muscle of veins are thinner than the smooth muscles that are found surrounding arteries. What do veins do? Veins carry blood back to the heart. They are thin-walled and less smooth than the muscles of arteries. They are larger in diameter, and they contain one-way valves. So, there are diseases of veins, and these are commonly known as varicose veins, where you see the veins popping up on the surface of the skin, because these veins are not deep in the body. You can see them on the surface. What ends up happening is, normally, these one-way valves don't let the blood back in. However, with varicose veins, this connective tissue gets stretched out and the muscles get stretched out, and these one-way valves start to separate, and it allows backflow of blood into your extremities. So how are veins impacted by gravity? The return of blood to the heart involves two problems. One is that blood is under low pressure. There is no second pump that will drive the blood back to your heart. So you have to find a way to do it without another pump. And blood from your legs and arms have to move against gravity in order to get back to your heart, which is in the upper part of your body. So how do veins help blood return to the heart? Remember that veins contain one-way valves, so they only allow blood to move towards the heart in one direction. As the valves open, blood moves up towards the heart. As the valves close, it stops the backflow. So blood only moves one way. Skeletal muscles, so the muscles in your limbs, contract along these veins to push the blood back up to your heart. So here's an example of a vein sandwiched between two skeletal muscles. So as the muscle relaxes, it allows these valves to open. As it contracts, it closes the valves and pushes the blood up towards the heart. So this is an example of a whale heart. It's relatively large. Your heart, however, is not nearly so large. Your heart is the size of your clenched fist. It is made up of a special kind of muscle called cardiac muscle. It's only found in the heart. We like to talk about the heart as being one pump, but really it's two. There is a pump that's located on the left and the right side. The two parts of the heart muscle are separated, and they're separated by this wall of muscle that they call the septum. So septum is just a Latin word for separation, or it's derived from the Latin word. The interesting thing about the heart is both of these pumps work together. They pump at the same time. Blood from the body gets pumped into the lungs on your right side. So blood from the body goes to the lungs. On your left side, blood from the lungs goes to the body. You'll notice that the right side, the blood is blue, and the right side the blood is blue, and the left side the blood is red. In the blue part, this is deoxygenated blood. So this is blood that has been depleted of all its oxygen. So it's heading back to the lungs to pick up some oxygen. In the absence of oxygen, blood is blue. Hemoglobin is blue. In the presence of oxygen, hemoglobin turns red. So this is indicating that blood from the lungs is containing oxygen, goes to the body to provide your cells with oxygen to survive. The parts of the heart. The very top of the heart is the aorta, and that's your primary artery. The superior vena cava is vein. Vena indicates vein. The pulmonary artery pumps deoxygenated blood, so it pumps blood from your heart to your lungs. So pulmonary indicates lungs. Pulmonary veins take that blood that has oxygen from the lungs and returns it to the heart. There are two chambers in your heart. There are 4 chambers, 2 atrium and 2 ventricles. So you have a right atrium. And what separates the atrium from the ventricle is this AV valve, or atrioventricular valve. Here is the semilunar valve, which regulates the flow of blood out of the heart. Underneath the atrium are the ventricles, so right atrium, right ventricle. The vein that leads back into the heart is called the inferior vena cava, so it's on the bottom, inferior. This is the septum. This is the muscle wall that separates the 2 parts of your heart. This is the aorta. It's going down, so they call it descending, and it takes blood, oxygenated blood, back into your body. Here, matching the right ventricle, is the left ventricle. Again, there's a semilunar valve that regulates the flow of blood into these arteries and veins. Again, an AV valve, or an atrioventricular valve, separates the atrium from the ventricle. Here's the left ventricle. Here are pulmonary veins and pulmonary arteries.